All right, so we are continuing with our project. This is week 2. Oh, let me show you guys something before I do that. So I sent you guys all a message in the inbox as well as putting this in the announcements. The last day to turn in anything in this class, so any late work, anything, if you want to like retake a quiz or a test or any assignment or whatever, uh, the last, absolute last day to change anything is next Wednesday, December 16th. And that's actually the first day of finals. And that's why I put that there. After that, I won't be taking anything else. So your project is technically due on Tuesday. And your guys is 1 and 3. Your guys' final is Wednesday. So anything after that, I won't be grading or accepting. So just make sure if you want to turn anything else in, um, to try to like bring your grade up or whatever, it needs to be turned in by Wednesday, 12/16 at midnight. Okay. After midnight, everything closes. And you guys know I leave every single thing open. If for some reason it's not open, I had a couple people ask me to open up some really old assignments and I just opened it up for them. Just let me know. Just know that the very last day is next Wednesday. Okay, looking at this week's. So I went ahead and I just put the exact same, all the research project stuff is right here. All of the same stuff that we went over last week, it's all right here in case you need to go over it. And then your week at a glance just makes your due dates a little bit easier to digest, basically. So today, what we're doing, you're just doing the graphic organizer, which is a plot diagram, and then you're going to do paragraph 1. Still people joining us, sorry. And then Tuesdays 2, Wednesdays 3, Thursdays 4, Fridays 5. And I've actually broken down what goes in each one in each of your assignments in the module. So we'll go over those every day. But what I want to do is, so I've put what I want in each one of these paragraphs. But if you need a refresher, because you guys learned how to like summarize a story way back in like probably like 6th grade. So if you need to, you can come back here and then these are just steps. And I've already done this like for you basically, meaning like I've broken it down. You should have read the story last week. The myth that tells you how your character either became what they are or got their powers. So I did a little bit of a sample all last week with you and I actually did a few slides to show you guys today. I'm sorry guys, still people joining. About how Medusa became Medusa, basically, because she was not a Gorgon slash monster until later. So my myth or the story that I would be giving the synopsis for would be that story, not how she died or any of the other times she turned people to stone, but how she became Medusa. Now, if you have, and that's going to be the same for anybody that has a monster. If you um got a god or goddess, then it's how do they basically become who they are, meaning like um who gave birth to them, what's their story, how did they get their powers. All right, so the second thing you would do is take notes, which you guys did all last week, especially Monday, Tuesday. That's when you were getting your sources. So if you didn't get a lot of notes on just the myth part, go ahead and go back, find the actual written out myth of how they became who they are, and then take notes on that. And you don't need to like write notes in a certain format. In fact, take notes on the graphic organizer that you have assigned to you today. And then find the main characters. So for me, the main characters when we went over Medusa's thing would be Medusa herself, and then Poseidon because she slept with him, and then Athena because Athena got upset that they did their thing inside of her temple. And so that's it. Those are my 3 characters. You're going to find those characters because you're going to be talking about them in your summary, in your synopsis, excuse me. And then note down the setting. Where did all this happen? Excuse me. What's the conflict? You're definitely going to need the conflict because that's all part of your synopsis. And then the main events, that's actually your, I believe that is your 3rd paragraph in your synopsis for this particular assignment. And then the conclusion, what happens at the end, like what is, what's the climax, and then what's the resolution, what happens after. And the resolution could be really simple, like she turned her, and then the resolution is she's now a monster capable of turning people into stone just for looking into her eyes. And then organizing your notes, you're doing that just by doing today's assignment. Oops, for some reason I ended up back at the top. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, go ahead and write it. Once you've got it all on your graphic organizer, writing your summary, but I want you to take it day by day. So if you want to go ahead and once you've got paragraph 1, if you want to go look at what paragraph 2 entails, go ahead and look at the assignment in your module for this week. And then the last one is look at examples of plot summaries. And so I've actually put in examples every day of what I want from you in each paragraph. And then fix it. So you don't have to be perfect this week, but definitely revise it once you've put it together and before you submit it this next week, excuse me, because you'll be submitting next Tuesday. All right.
So all we have to do is just like synopsis or like summarize of how they got their powers and stuff like that. Because my character doesn't really have like a story.
Who's your character?
Siren.
Oh no, they do. Okay, we'll talk after class about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go back to here. Oops, wrong one. All right, here's your graphic organizer. Use what you researched last week to help you complete this. You should only be using the myth about how your character came to be, how he or she got his or her powers. And then you're doing a plot diagram, which you guys have done before for the Stray. And this time it's specifically for your myth. So let me go ahead and open it up. Here it is. And you guys can open up the PowerPoint version or the Google Slides version. They're both there for you. So it's pretty simple. You guys have done this a few times before. We did it when we were taking notes and we did it again for the Stray. So what's your exposition? What happens before? Okay. What's going on with this person? So in my case for Medusa, it would be like, she's just with her family. She has 3 sisters. Then her rising action is right here. She has sex with the god in Athena's temple. Then the climax is Athena gets mad and changes her into a Gorgon, meaning now she's got snakes in her hair. But there's more to her story. But then your falling action is what happens after. So in a case like this, it might just be like straight to the resolution. But if something happens in between, you can put it here in the falling action. Some of our myths are pretty short, so I'm not really worried about falling action. It really just depends on your story. And then what's the major conflict? Write that in here. What's the major problem? So for me, for Medusa, it would be that she went ahead and had sex with that god inside of Athena's temple. And the conflict is it's in Athena's temple, which is going to make Athena mad. So you're going to put that in here. What's the main problem? So let me go ahead and close that out. Now, you are welcome to look through these, but I'm not going to go through each and every one until it's the day of, but they all have their own instructions. So let's look at today's. So, paragraph 1 should be your status quo. This is not it's kind of like your exposition basically. So what I want from you in this paragraph is what's going on when the story starts. So what is the current state of things at the beginning of the story? And it can be something like this, it can be longer like this, but this right here is actually something that the author of Double Cross sent to a publisher as a synopsis in order to get um her book published, which was eventually published, and it's called Double Crossed. So this is from an actual author who was just trying to get her book published. Okay. And this is a really good example. So anything I put from Double Cross is a great one to follow. It's just that we're not all familiar with Double Cross. So I went ahead and I put in an example from the Odyssey. And I also put in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone example. And I did Double Cross and Harry Potter on every single one. The Odyssey is a little bit harder because it's this massive story. So I made sure and I put a few examples from the Odyssey. But this is what we're looking for. Okay. So I kind of got off topic. So again, it's the status quo and basically is what is the current state of things at the beginning of the story. So give us whatever the heck is going on right as things are happening. So Denai Marks discovers a strangled corpse of Siobhan Craig. Siobhan is an activist who is not only Denai's employer, but also a mother figure. Denai has been abandoned at an orphanage as a baby. So it can be that simple. Now we're kind of more familiar with Harry Potter. I'm not saying that it has to be this long. Remember, 4 or 5 sentences is fine, but this will give you more of an idea of what I mean by status quo in the current state of things. So it's also your exposition. So don't get thrown off by me saying status quo, okay? So Harry Potter has been living a difficult life, constantly abused by his surly and cold aunt and uncle, Vernon and Petunia Dursley, and bullied by their spoiled son Dudley since the death of his parents 10 years prior. His life changes on the day of his 11th birthday when he receives a letter of acceptance into Hogwarts, delivered by a half giant named Rubeus Hagrid, after previous letters have been destroyed by Vernon and Petunia. Hagrid details Harry's past as the son of James and Lily Potter, who were a wizard and witch respectively, and how they were murdered by the most evil and powerful dark wizard of all time, Voldemort, which resulted in the 1-year-old Harry being sent to live with his aunt and uncle. Voldemort was not able to kill Harry, but his powers were destroyed in an attempt, forcing him to exile and sparking Harry's immense fame among the magical community. You, it doesn't have to be exactly like that. So don't let that freak you out. It can literally be like this. But basically, a lot happens in the beginning of Harry Potter, and it's a bigger um, book. It's also part of a huge series, which is why this is a bigger version of a status quo. I just put it here because I wanted you guys to understand like what's the background basically, what's the exposition, what's going on before the main stuff happens, right? And this is all like in the first chapter or so of Harry Potter. But all of our myths are only about a chapter long, not very long like Harry Potter is, which is why I wanted you to see the difference. And I put in the Odyssey because we're going to be reading it, but basically lots of things happen. So go ahead and read just like what happens in the beginning. So this is how it starts. The Odyssey begins after the end of the Trojan War, from which Odysseus, king of Ithaca, has still not returned due to angering Poseidon, the god of the sea. His son is about 20 years old now, and he's sharing his absent father's house on the island of Ithaca with his mom and the suitors, a crowd of 108 boisterous young men who each aim to persuade Penelope for her hand in marriage, all the while reveling in the king's palace and eating up his wealth. So, like, when Odyssey begins, we're supposed to know all this stuff. Okay, so it's a little bit different. So you can do the exposition. So with Harry Potter, this is like chapter 1. And with the Odyssey, it's kind of some of it's written like as a preamble, and some of it's like right there in the beginning of the story. So all of these are good examples. But again, yours can be this short because we're not summarizing or giving a synopsis for a whole book. Okay. Oops. If you, excuse me, I'm just going back to screen share. If you want to go through and look at these, you can. I'm just trying not to overwhelm you. So each paragraph is another step. So basically, this is exposition, rising action, um, climate. No, I'm sorry. This one is what happens to cause the problem. Paragraph 3 is tell me about um, anything that happens in between. And this is probably going to be your longest one. Paragraph 4, that's your climax. And then paragraph 5 is your resolution. What happens after. So see how short this is, but we'll look at it closer on that day. I just showed you that because you can go through and look at these if you're ahead. Okay. And then probably in a couple days, I'll go ahead and put in the module for week 18. And then I'll put it here underneath, not at the top, just so you can see everything put together. And if you want to work on it this weekend, you can. All right. The only other thing I wanted to show you guys is I actually went through just because, oh, hang on just a sec. I was looking at everybody's slides that you guys were sending in, and some of them are good, and others I feel like could use a little bit more oomph. So I did the first 3 slides of Medusa just because I wanted to show you guys. So here's slide number 1, and I kind of made it way better than the first time I just kind of showed you how to create a slide. This is more like what I want your first slide to look like. It should be like, boom, this whole thing's about Medusa. What is she? All right. And then the second slide, that one was like your family slide. See how I have a background? I explain like what her family tree is. And then these are her parents. And I didn't have to look hard. I literally took the information I found and put their names. These are her parents' names, put them in Google, found a picture. And there weren't many, but this is like one of the first that showed up. And it's from one of the reliable resources that I gave you. It's actually from Theoi. So these are her parents. And then just doing this for you guys, I found out that she actually had, there was 4 sisters, like from her parents, and then 4 sisters here, but then 3 of them were turned into Gorgons. Okay, so these are her sisters, and that's why you see 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these are her sisters' names. And then again, all I did was put in the name of the sisters and then got a picture of it. But the reason I'm showing you this is because I put my information here and then I added some pictures and then I kind of labeled the pictures. Some of you guys are just putting like a white screen behind it and then just write some information or some bullet points. You have to make it more appealing to whoever's looking at it. Basically, what I'm saying is be more creative. And then the last one, this was just a picture on the internet. And then I did the trick that I showed you guys about when you click on this and then you go to set transparent color. And then I clicked on the white to remove it. So it looked cool on the purple background. And then I learned something when I was putting this together. So your slide 3 is what are her powers basically, or what does she look like? So for example, Medusa is the most famous of the monster figures known as Gorgons. She is usually represented as a winged figure or winged female creature having a head of hair consisting of snakes. Unlike the Gorgons, she is sometimes represented as very beautiful. Medusa is the only Gorgon who was mortal, meaning like she could be killed. But what I thought was interesting is when I was doing this last night, that she was winged and hardly any pictures of her show wings. And when she's in like movies and stuff, no wings, just a beautiful woman, or not beautiful, that has snakes in her hair. And so I went online and I was like, all right, Medusa with wings. And I found this, and this is from one of those websites. This is like a really old painting. And so I removed the background from that one and stuck it in because I thought it was important to actually see her with wings, especially because that was sort of a shock to me. So this is what I mean. Put some kind of picture in here showing what your person looks like if you're describing them. Do you have to put two? No. I just thought it was interesting that she had wings that I didn't know about. So I put one with wings and one that was basically all over the internet. And then I made sure I have a background. Do you guys need to use this celestial background? No. But please make it more visually appealing, um, because what I've been seeing is pretty simple. All right, hang on just a sec.